communication process in agricultural extensions. So today we will be discussing on what is communication process and what will be the significance of communication process in agricultural extension. So these are the overviews of my today's lecture classes. That is, what is communication, why is communication important, functions of communication, elements of communications, principle of communications, there are different types of communications, barrier in communication, does and don'ts of communications, and a little bit of summary. Okay? So basically, what is communications? Communication can be defined as a systematic process involving the transmission and reception of message between a sender and a receiver through a chosen medium or channel accompanied by feedback to confirm that the intended or perceived message has been correctly understood by the receiver. So there are several definitions of communications. Among these, the most generous and popular definition was given by Liggins. So according to him, communication is a process by which two or more people exchange ideas, facts, feelings, or impressions in ways that it gains a common understanding of the message. In the context of agricultural extension, education communication can be defined as the process by which extension worker individually or in a group approach through a selective medium or channel exchange their knowledge, then attitude, then skills on behalf of organizations with farmers, farm women, or different kinds of stakeholders through such ways that each gains comprehension, understanding and use of that particular messages. And in this case, the messages is regarding transfer of technologies or in case of adoption of any new informations or new technologies. So next, what is the basic meaning of communications? I am very much pertinent about the etymology of communication word. You, dear student, you know the source or origin of communication was derived from Latin word that is communicare, which means to pass along, impart or transmit knowledge. Basically, in a very brief way and simpler way, communication means establishment of commonality or commonness. So communication is the process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, feelings between individual or group so that the group members or that the particular individual build a relationship of commonality or the commonness so that the messages or information can be transferred from one to another in such a way, in a very quick way, and the perceived messages or the get the knowledges in a very effective way. So we communicate with other individuals by directly messages to one of their senses out of 5, like sight through our eyes, sounds through our voice, touches like physical, then smell or taste. So by using one or more senses at a time, we share our ideas, feelings with one another. So next, why is communication very important? So communication, there are several important points. Its significance basically facilitates understanding. So since our birth, whenever we try to express our thoughts or ideas or any kind of thirst or urge to need to feed our stomach. So first of all, we express our feelings or express our need through communication. So facilitates understanding. And the second one is very, very important, that is builds relationship. Basically, human beings are social animal. So we are living in a society where social relationship is very, very important. So builds relationship through like personal or professionals, communication has a very effective way. So next is enhances collaborations and teamwork. Actually, in our life, we will survive together. We will work anything as a teamwork. So first of all, building any team and working together effectively, communication is play a very crucial role. The next one is influences decisions and problem solving. So there are several problems happens in our daily lives, and in case of farming communities, in a daily basis they are facing several problems. So communication is the primary way to solve the problems. Okay. And the last but not the least, essential for growth in personal and academic life. So next, there are four basic functions of communications. Okay, there are four basic functions. So these functions are fundamental, both personal and professional settings. So number one, information. So informing, the primary function of communication is to convey informations like sharing facts, instructions, updates, news, and purposes helps individuals stay informed and make better decisions. So human beings are a decision making unit. We all know that to take any decision we should know our environment, our in our daily trains, like what's going on, the updates. So to take any better decision, first of all we should be informed, and the second one is persuading. So according to Barlow, the sole purpose of communication is to influence people. Persuasive function is extremely important for extension in changing their behavior in the desirable direction. That is the first step of the bridging the gap between the lab to land, or the from the extension professionals with the farming community. So the examples are advertisements, promotional videos, motivational speeches, negotiation. So the purpose is encourages change in mindset or action. The third function is instruction. Like right now I am doing towards you, that is instructing you. Just sit and listen to my lecture notes. So that is also instruction, my dear. So instruction and education. So educations, whatever we are gain the knowledge, acquire the knowledge, first of all we should be a good listener. So communication plays a vital role in teaching and learning processes like lectures, tutorials, training programs, and it's basically work in imparting knowledge and skills to others. So the last but not the again list the integration function. So a major function of communication is integration at the interpersonal or at the organization level. This helps to maintain individual, societal or organizational stability and identity. So next, what is the actual communication process? Process means it's very systematic and there are several steps and there are several elements which work together or step by step. So let's start with the communication process. The first one is who have the message, that means the sender or the source. So the person who initiates or originates the message. So role, the sender is responsible for encoding the message clearly and very effectively, like a teacher who explaining a concept in a class, or like KVK SMS scientist, so who is just imparting the knowledge through different training processes or demonstrational methods. So second one is encoding. Encoding basically it's a step of communication process, but itself it's a process, like it is process of converting the thoughts or ideas into a messages. So the sender chooses the appropriate words, symbols or gestures to convey the messages. Like teacher deciding how to explain a complex topic in simple terms. Like then the message. Message should be very much contentful and it's very much efficient in itself. So the content or information being communicated, the message can be in the form of spoken words or in written words or through visual images or in informal, or that means non-verbal cues. So the next one is the medium or channel. So medium through which the message is sent or transmitted, like speech or written email, a letter, a newspaper. So any kind of the channel or medium which ensures the message is delivered to the receiver from sender. Like face-to-face conversation is also, it has the medium, but we cannot see it. It's very invisible. Like right now I am talking to you. So what is the channel, my dear? The channel is, the medium is this air in this house. So it works like channel or medium. Okay. The next one is again decoding. Decoding itself is a process and it's very, very, very important part of communication process. The efficiency or the effectiveness of communication depends very much on encoding and decoding. So decoding, the process of interpreting or understanding the messages by the receiver. The receiver makes sense of the message based on their knowledge, experience and context. And then the receiver, the person to whom we want that he or she will get the messages in a good way. So, and this last one, it's also very important part of communication process, that is feedback. Without feedback or audience response, our total communication process is very, very incomplete. So we should be very much focused on feedback mechanism. So the response or reaction from the receiver after interpreting the message is known as feedback. Now, what is noise and barrier? It's actually unavoidable part of any communication process. No, any communication process is completely effective because it has to have some noise or barrier. Any distraction or barrier that may distort the message, like misunderstanding, like any background noises, like any uneasy, unhealthy environment where you are studying or reading or communicating with another person. So, other few elements which have some roles in communication process, these are basically context, provides the people, the occasion and the task. Then physical environment, it is the actual place or space where communication occurs, like in a very hot, humid weather. I am taking classes over than 40 minutes and 1 hour. You are getting sweated. That means you are not very much attentive to listen my lecture. So that is also, the physical environment has also very crucial role in communication process, my dear. So next one is climate, influences the emotional atmosphere. Now this is the cyclical or continuous process of communication, because communication process is two-way process. It's a reciprocal one. The sender sending messages, the receiver receiving messages, then again receiver giving feedback to the sender, and again sender correcting the steps which is incorrectness or ineffectiveness in the communication process. So that's why the whole process is cyclical. So this is the flow chart or flow model of communication process. Now there are 5 principles of communications. number one is communication is transactional because exchanging of ideas. Number two is communication is very complex for several reasons, like it is interactive, symbolic, there are several semantic barriers, then personal, cultural, irreversible, circular, purposeful, impossible to duplicate, like this. Okay, the third one is unavoidable. Communication is unavoidable because it is impossible to not communicate. Can you did it? No, na? So what is communication? Continuous, because it continues to impact, already I have told you. The last one is communication skills can be learned because they can always be improved. We can improve our communication skills in every seconds, okay, because it's basically a learned process. Okay, now the very important part is types of communication. Okay, communication process can be classified in several different aspects. Okay, here we will be discussing on three basic aspects. Number one, on the basis of form. Okay, on the basis of form, communication process is basically two. Okay, and on the basis of level, there are 5 levels of communications, and on the basis of direction of flowing information, there are 3 types of communication. So first one is verbal communication. What is verbal communication, my dear? Verbal communication has 2 ways. One is oral communication and another one is written communication. So basically verbal communication means communication where information is exchanged through using word. That means using word, letters, okay, words. So using words in a oral way like speech, lecture notes, or in a written way, that means emails or letters, newspapers. So these are the printed communications. Okay, so oral communications and written communication. So advantage of oral communication is immediate feedback, more personal and more engaging. And written communication has advantages like it provides a permanent record, allows careful thought and structuring of the message. Now, non-verbal communication. What is non-verbal communication? So, beyond using word, that is non-verbal communication. Like first one, gesture. Right now, I am standing in front of you. That means it is my physical movements, like this. So, physical movements made with the parts of the body, often to express thoughts or emotions, like hand movements, thumbs up, or my facial gesture. So these all are non-verbal communication. Next one is facial expressions. Movements of facial muscles that convey feelings, like that means I am very sad today, upset. You can notify any farmers who is upset and who is joyful on the basis of their reading of their facial expressions. So that is also a communication process. So next one is body language. Definition, like the way in which individual use their body to communicate. And the eye contact. Eye contact is very, very important for any kind of communications. The act of looking directly into another person's eyes, that means you are very attentive, you are give him or her the importance to listen his or her queries or responses. So that is also known as oculosics. Okay. Next one is space, that is proxemics. The use of physical space in communication is known as proxemics. Basically, when we are very friendly, we use the very less quantity of physical spaces, okay, and tone of voice, that is paralinguistic. So paralinguistics means without using the language the vocal characteristics used to convey meaning beyond the actual words, that is paralinguistics. Adds depth to verbal communications. Okay. Next one is touch, that is known as haptics. So using physical touch to communicate messages, like I am patting your back, that means you get the communication that you did very well. Okay, so that is haptics. Now types of communication on the basis of level. So there are 5 levels of communication. Number 1 is intrapersonal, number 2 is interpersonal, number 3 is small group communication, number 4 is one-to-group communications, and number 5 is mass communication. So what is intrapersonal communication? This kind of communication is every time we are doing intrapersonal communication. This communication that occurs in our own mind, that is self-talk. So to take any kind of decision, what to eat, what to wear, where to go, when to sleep or not sleep. So these all kind of decision we will take through intrapersonal communication, which is very invisible. Okay, so this is the intrapersonal communication. And next one is interpersonal communication. That means this communication between two people, but can involve more in informal conversation. It's like not kind of formal settings. Okay, through this kind of communication we maintain relationships, like a teacher student, like a scientist and the farmer. Okay, so next one is small group communication. So when communication within formal or informal groups or teams, it is group interactions but in a small size that results in decision making, problem solving and discussion within a organizations. A focus group discussion is also a small group communications. Now, one-to-group communication. Communication involves a speaker who seeks to inform, persuade or motivate an audience. Okay? And now, mass communication. Mass communication is the electronic or print transmission of messages to the general public outlets like mass media. So, the television is the most common mass media, then radio, then books, newspaper, bulletins. These all are mass communications media. Okay. Now, what are the barriers to effective communications? Okay. Any obstacle that blocks communication lists 5 possible barriers. Okay. Number 1 is language barriers. Use of complex or unfamiliar words, that is very technical words. To addressing a large audience, we cannot allow unfamiliar or technical words. The second one is cultural differences. Misinterpretation due to cultural misunderstanding, which is very much happening. Okay. Then is physical barriers, noise, distance or technical issues. Any poor internet connections cut the online classes. So this is also physical barrier, okay, which obstacle the communication process. Next one is emotional barrier. Personal biases, anger, stress affecting our communication in a very silent way. That is emotional barrier, okay. Last but again not the least, the perceptual barrier. Differences in how people perceive, because we all are from different attitude, personality, different emotions, backgrounds. So we basically perceive any kind of informations or ideas on our own perception level. So perceptual barrier is again also very common in any kind of communication process. Now it should be the types of communication on the basis of information flow. So information is flowing from upward to downward, from downward to upward, and again like grapevine like communications. Okay. So what is downward communication? The flow of information from top to bottom in any organization, that is downward communication. Here 3 important ingredients should be remembered, that is timeliness, quality and adequacy. Okay. Then upward communication, the process of information flowing from lower level of organization to the hierarchy, or means to the upper level, like from the subordinates to the superior, that is the upward communication, which is very much needed for our any kind of developmental plan. Okay. In the context of democratic decentralizations, concept in action in our rural reconstruction effort, upward communication occupies a still greater significance. Here, grapevine communication is the most informal communications. It is like very informal, because we all know that grapevine is has no such directions. It's like horizontal, but it has no exact format of directions. So this is very informal interaction that occurs between employees of an organization, especially those at the same level. So these may often be an unstructured channel of discussion over which an organization management may not have entire control. Now, what are the do's and don'ts for effective communications? So, after all the class notes, my dear student, you should be very much careful about do's and don'ts whenever you are communicating with another persons. Okay. So, what are the do's? Okay. So, listen to learn and learn to listen. Basically, we individual thinks 400 words in a minute, and 175 words we can communicate in a minute. So, how to decide how many words we can choose that should be communicated within a minute? Because we are thinking about 400 words and we can communicate or utter 175 words. It's very difficult, my dear. So, first of all, we should be a good listener to learn, okay, and learn how to listen. Listen, that should be very much careful, okay. The next one is concentrate, focus, okay. Whenever we are listening, don't think on our different kinds of issues. Concentrate on that particular way. That is the next do's. Third one is effective listening, okay. The listening should be effective. Next is wishful thinking. Whenever we are listening to others, we are again thinking what should be listened by him or her. That means the information already wishful. So, try to avoid wishful thinking, okay. Then is attention. Again, be very attentive. Then is semantics, which is word related, okay. Then is talk person to person. Then positive attitude. That means we are starting communicating and in a very negative attitude, rejecting mode. That should be again avoided, okay. Get the fact, empathy, self-awareness, encourage people to like you, and never forget to smile. What are the don'ts of effective communications? Stress, lack of communication skill, irritation, close-mindedness. You are communicating with another person, but you are still very closed, rigid way. So that again should be avoided. Then no team spirit, working individual efforts. So that will not give you the effectiveness 100%. Okay. So lack of credibility, that means trustworthiness. Okay. Then poor self-esteem, expressive talking, loss of productivity, isolation, poor health, distrust, anger. When we are angry, we should stop communicating with another person, because due to anger or stress or unhealthy issues, basically we do wrong communication. Then prejudice, then uncooperative behavior, then conflict, then frustration, and last but not the least, again, unhappiness. Now, one thing I should share with you, that a Russian proverb is, a spoken word flies, you won't catch it. So you should be very careful to choose your word when you speak to someone or write to someone or communicate to someone. Then John Rockefeller says that I will pay more for the ability to deal with people than for any other ability under the sun. Again, Daniel Webster, an American journalist, told or spoken that if all my possessions were taken from me with one exception, I would hope to keep my power of communication, for by it would regain all the rest. Okay, that's all for today class. Okay, thank you my dear students for your patience and attentiveness. Thank you.